All right, welcome everybody. I hope everybody can hear me. Is everybody able to hear me? We had a little bit of problem with the audio last time, and I was hoping we got that figured out. Sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Boyd. I appreciate it. All right, let's get things started. Um, First thing I want to do is remind everybody to hit the like and subscribe button. If what you see tonight is enjoyable, I appreciate the feedback. That'll let me know whether or not we're going to continue with this type of video series or not. Um, Now that I am retired, I do have some little bit of free time on my hands, and I thought it might be good to go back through the videos and discuss what my reasoning was and why I made various decisions. So, without any further ado, let's get started on that. Probably one of the biggest questions that everybody asked me is how I got started video recording. What was the genesis of me recording myself and then uploading that to YouTube? So, the number one thing was I was trying my best to become a good incident commander. And ultimately, I wanted to make sure that I was giving good orders, I was articulating uh, what I needed done, and I wanted to make sure that I was catching all of the radio traffic and answering everybody on the first try. So I began to record that, and I would bring that home and watch that. And the more I done that, the more I thought this might be something that maybe others can learn from. So I was crazy enough to upload it to YouTube. And I say that because there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there that can make life difficult, but that's okay. If there is somebody out there that can learn from these videos, then it's well worth it. So let's get started with the video. We're going to be watching the fire at 263 Boyleston Avenue. This was back on February 28th, 2015, if you can believe that, 9 years ago. Now, the one thing I want to tell you that I think is extremely important is number one, the temperature was minus 22, which really made our life difficult. And this was a very narrow street. So there was no opportunity to reposition vehicles once they were in place. Um, so let's get started with this, and then I'll pause the video at certain points and um, try to highlight some of the areas in the video that I think are important. All right.
Off Garfield, I'm looking for the hydrant.
There's one right there on the corner of the alley, just south of Garfield.
Also, you're going to have pretty heavy exposure day one side Bravo. It's getting pretty hot there.
That's clear. Battalion 1 Fire Control. I'm on the scene. This is a two-story private dwelling. Confirming you got the working fire assignment started. I do have multiple exposures here. Chief Doctor, I'll have Boyleston Command. Accountability is going to be a Battalion 1.
Battalion 1, I have you on the CNT story working fire with heavy exposure. I have got engine 102 was the only other unit called for on your working fire assignment. They have been dispatched. Battalion 1, I had one neighbor report there's an elderly gentleman that lives in the house.
Alright, a copy. Chief 111, go 3 houses to the north, confirm there's a hydrant right there on the corner of that alley.
Okay. Well, we stand by the hydrant for the engine coming in.
Engine 102 between the North 247 Boyleston Avenue and a working house fire. Cross streets of Garfield Avenue and Clarendon Street. Engine 102 between the North 247 Boyleston Avenue, a working house fire.
Battalion 1 to Engine 4. All right. So, a couple questions that I want to go over here. Frequently, people will ask what our response team is like at the Newark Fire Department. We're a full-time department. On this particular fire, we had 19 people staffing 3 engines and 2 ladders. We had 2 medic units. The firefighters on the medic units are capable of fighting fire and will sometimes get a fire assignment. And then, of course, I'm the chief officer there. So the other thing you might ask is, who's that guy that done my 360 for me and was handling my size up? Well, this is a quick look at Newark. And here we go. That was my twin brother, Darren. He's also a firefighter, and he works for Madison Township Fire Department over in Columbus. They're a suburb of Columbus, Ohio. So we are both in the fire business, and he gave me a great size up and had already done this 360, and that worked out perfectly. All right. The working fire assignment would normally bring 2 additional engines and 1 medic unit. I already had an extra medic and an extra engine on the card, so they dispatched 1 engine for the total assignment. It would be 5 engines in a ladder, 2 medics, and of course the battalion chief, which is me. All right, let's get back to business here. So we can have ladder 2 take the front of the building.
Copy.
Actually, correction on that, going up to Garfield, I want you to come in from the north on Garfield, ladder 1, turn down Clarendon and come north on Boylston. Rescue 1, you've got the attack line, you did copy, there's a possible victim inside, correct?
Affirmative. Ladder 1 copies the assignment. We're trying to get around here. Engine 4 Battalion 1, you still want to check the hydrant for Garfield?
It's going to be better for you to come up to Garfield. Yeah, it comes in from Garfield. There's a hydrant just behind Rescue 1.
Chief, you say somebody's inside?
I don't know for sure. Fire control, go ahead and notify I-20 and the power company.
Fire control's clear. Notify I-20 power company.
Ladder 1, I want you to grab a second line off of Rescue 1. Hit the exposure to the south with the second line.
Message proceed. Pulling the second line off Rescue 1 and taking care of the south exposure.
Ladder 1, can you pull back about 10 feet?
Hey, Chief.
Yep.
Neighbor down here told the officer he didn't think the neighbor or this individual was home, but he's not sure.
Okay. Okay. So there were a lot of comments on this video. I took a lot of heat about asking Ladder 1 to reposition. Here's what I can tell you. Um, Number one, I was pretty confident we were not going to need a 100-foot ladder truck to extinguish this fire. The other thing is it was minus 22, and either I sit in the car and maintain a tactical worksheet, which we'll talk about more later, or I get out and go stand on the sidewalk, and then that there's a lot of negative that comes with that. Um, Running command from the sidewalk. We can talk about that later on. Um, so let's keep watching the video, but I wanted to just identify that. Thank you.
Yep, assignment.
Why don't you go in with those guys and search?
Okay. We're gonna do search.
Command to Medic 2.
Medic 2, go ahead.
I want you to try to find the gas meter, make sure the gas meter's shut off for this residence.
There.
Ladder 1, when they charge that line, Ladder 2, you guys 10 forward?
Affirmative.
Ladder 1, go ahead and take that line in behind Rescue 1. The exposure doesn't look like it's going to be a problem now.
Left, 1 and 5.
Medic 3, you've got the EMS sector.
Medic 3 copies, EMS.
Engine 4, once you work on some ventilation all the way around the first floor.
Copy. Engine 4, okay, command, we've got a Harkin line back on the east.
Yeah, I'm watching it.
Engine 3 to command.
Engine 3.
You got an approach for us?
Once you come in from Clarendon, And just stage at the intersection of Clarendon and Boylston. Send your manpower up.
Come in from Clarendon, Boyle.
Boylston Command Fire Control.
Go ahead.
Fire Control, would you put Newark Township on standby for an engine and a medic? I would also like an engine and a medic out of Madison on standby if they've got the personnel for it.
Hey, Chief. The electric lines have burned off.
I'm aware of that.
One or two just marked it around. I'll find out if they have the others all available.
That's clear. Command, all units operating on Boyleston Avenue. Do not go to the backyard. Looks like we're going to have some power lines down in the backyard shortly. Engine 3, you'll be writ. You just stage your vehicle there, bring all your manpower up.
Engine 3 tops lit.
Commander Rescue 1, be advised, looks like the second floor is flashed over. You guys making progress?
This will be a county fire, Newark Township, and Madison units. Requested engine and medic crews on standby for Newark City and tied up on a working house fire.
All right. I don't know if anybody is able to see the power flashes that's going on in the backyard, but the power lines for this house was coming off the back of the house and going to a power pole in the alleyway. So what we would typically do in this situation is set out green traffic cones. Every engine in Newark has a set of 4 of these. We only use these green traffic cones to identify electrical hazards only. Um, that's one of those things that I think that you definitely have to address on the fire ground. There's been fatality reports written about electrical hazards. All the way around the first floor.
Newark Township and Madison.
Medic 2 to command.
Requesting engine and medic
medic
crews
2.
on standby for Newark City, tied up on a working house.
We can't locate any gas meter.
Okay. What's the arcing situation on the back of the house? Is there power lines down in the yard?
That's affirmative.
Okay. Let's get some cones out on both sides of that power line.
Yeah, cones are being deployed by ladder 2 driver.
Battalion 1 to Rescue 1. Are you guys going to need a third line in there? We're still got heavy fire in the back of the house. I'm sorry, could not copy. Is that a yes or a no? Okay. So that was a trick question when I asked them about the third line. So if you were to do the quick calculations on how much water they can put out with a third line, it would amount to about a 1,600 square foot home with a total of 3 lines operating. So we already have been at the fire for about 10 minutes or so operating. I saw that they got a pretty decent knockdown at first, and then the whole back of the house is now taking off, and something just doesn't seem right. So here in just a moment, you're going to hear that I go mobile because I want to take a look at things for myself. Engine 4, would you guys stretch a third line into the residence, please?
Okay, firm.
Medic 2, would you guys throw some ladders off of ladder 1, see if we can get into that roof area? We're going to have to open that up. Is there windows on that gable side?
Yep.
So we do have a second floor, right?
Yep.
Okay. Commander Rescue 1, have you guys found the stairs to the second floor?
This runs on county fire.
Command all units. Command to be mobile.
Township, Madison unit. North City's requesting engine and medic crews on standby. They're tied up on a working house fire. North Township, Madison fire squad personnel requesting crews on standby for Newark City is tied up on a working house fire.
Fire control, 10-1.
Standby, sir. Command all units, pull out of the house. Command all units, I want you to back out of the house. Command all units operating on the inside, back out of the house. Keep it here. Power tools out. All right,
Okay. So I've requested everybody to evacuate the building. I got out of the command car, went mobile, took a look at things. Just wasn't feeling right. Things just didn't seem to be where they needed to be. So this is where I want everybody to take a look at my tactical worksheet. Here we go. So this is where my tactical worksheet is at. Up here are my objectives. I've got most of these objectives already crossed off. As you go down through here, this is the value of a tactical worksheet. I'm going to need to complete a PAR in order to determine if everybody makes it safely out of the building. So I'm over here on my left column where it says IDLH. Every place that there is an I, that means that's a crew that is operating inside of the fire building. Okay. So the first crew at the top here is Rescue 1. They were assigned fire attack at 0035. They're still in the building. Ladder 1 was assigned to take a backup line in at 0036. They are still in the building. You can see that Engine 4 was crossed off here because they laid a supply line to Rescue 1, and they've already completed that mission. I have Ladder 2 in the building doing a primary search. And then all the way at the bottom, I have Engine 4 stretching the third attack line in. So when I do my PAR, those are the only 4 companies that I need to be concerned with. Rescue 1, Ladder 2, and Engine 4. All right. Let's pick back up with the video.
Sorry, ladder 2 driver.
Engine and medic crews on standby. They're tied up on a working house fire. Newark Township, Madison, fire squad personnel requesting crews on standby for Newark City is tied up on a working house fire.
Fire control 10-1.
Stand by, sir. Command all units, pull out of the house. Command all units, I want you to back out of the house. Command all units operating on the inside, back out of the house. Keep it here. Ladder 2 is out. Alright, I copy ladder 2, you're out of the building. Engine 4 is out. Alright, I copy engine 4. Rescue 1, you copied, you ordered it back out. Ladder 1 command. Boyleston Command Fire Control.
Go ahead, sir.
Alright, we are now defensive on this fire. We do have a PAR for all units in the fire ground. Go ahead with your traffic.
Sir, I was advised you've been on the scene for 15 minutes calling for PAR. Also advised you have all units on the scene except 102.
All right. I'm going to keep the video playing. I'm going to shut the audio off so I can talk about a couple of things here. So, what was going on with the house that they had such difficulty extinguishing the back side of the house? Well, after we got the fire knocked down and we began the overhaul process, we discovered that there were 30 or 40 car tires in the back room of the house. That's what was burning. And that's why the interior crews were having such difficulty gaining control of the fire in the back area of the house. Um, there was nobody inside the house. This was an unoccupied dwelling. If I remember correctly, this gentleman had just recently went to the hospital or the nursing home, one or the other. Um, so building was not occupied. Um, Another thing that I want you to notice, and this is pretty much in all of my videos, is you do not hear pass alarms going off on the fire ground. Um, the guys that I work with are top-notch guys. They work their butts off, and they basically make my job look pretty easy. So I don't want to make this seem like I'm doing all the work because I'm not. Uh, I've been very fortunate that all of these guys take their job very seriously. They monitor their pass alarms. They stay physically fit, and ultimately um, makes my job much easier. All right. So, cause of the fire. So, typically, when I would post a video, I am not authorized to comment on the cause of the fire, and that's per policy. If the fire is under investigation, I do not have the liberty to say that it's an arson fire or that we believe it to be an electrical fire or whatever. The requirement would be that I can say that the fire is under investigation. This fire afterwards was investigated by I-20, who is our fire marshal. He ruled the fire incendiary. He said there were pour patterns on the floor, and he had positive results of ignitable liquid from the samples that he submitted to the state fire marshal's office. So this was an intentionally set fire, it looks like, probably from a squatter or a homeless person, something of that nature. All right. Yes, the air horns, our signal to evacuate the building. We do not have a tone on the radio. Our signal would be like a 10-second blast on the air horn that lets everybody know. So the incident commander would make an announcement to evacuate the building, and then the driver operator would give a 10-second blast on the air horn. All right. So this is your chance to ask questions, and I will do my best to answer your questions. Um, let's see here. Yeah, pass alarm management on the fire ground, huge pet peeve of mine. Um, if I hear a pass alarm going off, we stop pretty much everything and we track down who's got the pass alarm going on. Any questions? I scanned through all of the previous questions on that video and tried to pick out some of it so I could mention things when we were doing the review here. Good question there. What's my thought on the deck gun attack? Um, so there have been a couple videos that I posted where we actually have done a deck gun attack. Um, it it has to be done when it's precisely called for. In this particular situation, I don't think that we would have been able to knock down a bunch of the fire with the deck gun. However, there definitely have been moments where we pulled up and we thought the deck gun uh, would be well utilized. And if you want to see examples of that, you can search through the Essex Street fire and the Elmwood Avenue fire. Both of those fires, we utilized a deck gun to get an initial knockdown, um, and it worked great. The Essex Street fire, we actually knocked down enough fire on the second floor that a homeless person that was trapped on the second floor was able to escape and jump out of a second floor window. So if you're interested in that, just all you have to do is on my page, the video page, just search for the Essex Street fire, and you'll be able to find that video. How often do we need to push civilians back? You know, this is a big thing. I can't tie myself up a bunch dealing with the civilians. If it gets bad, um, I'll call the police and see if they can assist us with all of the people that is looking or gawking, getting in the way or whatever. But there have been a couple videos where um, people got in the way and I had to get verbal with them or I had to call the police and ask for their assistance. Tim wants to know how long I've been in the fire service. I'm 35 years in, so I am no longer a full-time firefighter. I retired from Newark. I am a part-time slash volunteer firefighter with a department that I joined fresh out of high school. So I still serve with them. I'm an assistant chief there and in charge of fire training. And I can tell you that I hold those guys to a very strict standard also. Um, Tom Gary wants to know about command post being in the vehicle versus going mobile. So, if anybody has ever had the opportunity to look at um, the website on Maydays. There has been extensive research. Over 5,000 Maydays were looked at, and the highest risk of missing a Mayday is when you're standing out on the sidewalk. About 36% of the Maydays were missed on the first call while the incident commander was standing out on the sidewalk. You can reduce that down. Um, Don Abbott determined that only 7% of Maydays were missed by an incident commander that was positioned inside of a vehicle. So, um, is inside the vehicle the best place to be? No, I'm not going to say that. I think sometimes being outside of the vehicle is necessary, and I think sometimes being inside the vehicle is necessary. But I do think it's very important to be able to hear the radio. Um, so either a lapel mic or even a headset for the incident commander. That way they can hear the radio traffic. All right. When you assign Medic 3 to look for a gas meter and pull ladders. Um, so Medic 3 was my EMS sector. Um, the medic crew that was assigned to, let me go back here and look, to kill the gas meter. Medic 2 was assigned to utilities. They were the one that reported back, said they could not find the gas meter. Um, so Medic 3 was assigned to EMS. They are strictly required to put their equipment on the cot and bring the cot down to the front of the building in case somebody gets injured. All right. What advice do you have for people who want to become firefighters? That's a good question. Um, in my area in central Ohio, there seems to be a pretty good number of volunteer fire departments that are always looking for assistance, including the volunteer department that I'm on, Madison Township Fire Department. We have volunteers that we call responding volunteers that live in our area. And then we have volunteers that are non responders, and they would have to come and do time at the station. In return, we would pay for their training. Also, if you have a technical school, we have a career and technical school in our area where uh, kids in high school, when they become a junior and senior, they can take fire and EMS, and when they graduate, they will have their EMT certification and have their fire certification, and essentially they are employable as soon as they graduate from high school. Very good question. Okay, do we conduct an orderly retreat as opposed to just evacuation? So in this particular circumstance, orderly retreat I thought was acceptable. If we had an issue like a potential building collapse, I would announce evacuate the building immediately. Everybody knows that they drop their equipment and quickly evacuate the building. And sometimes you end up losing equipment when you do that. But the number one priority is making sure you get your crew members out of the building. All right. I'm just looking through the questions here to see if there's any more questions. Biggest challenge on this particular call was the weather. It was minus 22. We had people's air packs freezing up. We had problems with pumps. We had guys that had ice inside their mask. So I would say on this one, definitely was the weather that gave us trouble. Um, Ended up getting two guys hurt on this fire. Was nothing serious. One guy slipped on the ice and injured his knee. And of course, every time that happens, we have to take people away from the fire to assist an injured firefighter. All right. Hello, Denver, Colorado, Jeff Turner. All right. I'm trying to get caught up on these questions here. Okay, mutual aid. At what point do we call mutual aid? We have automatic aid set up. So every time a house fire is dispatched, it gets 3 engines, a ladder, a medic, and a chief officer on it. If we have a couple runs in progress, we would automatically backfill the assignment with mutual aid companies. Um, Let me go back here. So this is Newark, the layout of Newark. This right here, Station 540, is a mutual aid company. Off to our east is Madison Township, the department that I volunteer for. To the south of the city is the city of Heath, and we call on them quite frequently. And then over here to the west of the city of Newark is Granville, and again we call on Granville quite frequently, and we go out and help all of our mutual aid partners also. Um, Mayday policy. That's a good question, and I think we're going to have to wait and do a live stream on the Mayday policy separately because I don't have everything set up. But here's what I can tell you is my recommendation to everybody is to have a Mayday tactical worksheet. Um, I think that's critical. We've had 2 Maydays in the city of Newark within the last 2 years, I would say. Um, Both Maydays were resolved very quickly, and I would attribute that to a lot of training and the use of a Mayday tactical worksheet. So, if you're interested in taking a look at a Mayday tactical worksheet, you can buzz over to my webpage, commandvision.com. Let me get you the URL right there, command-vision.com. If you go over to the download area, there is a tactical worksheet and a Mayday worksheet you can download free of charge. Um, that way you can start using those when you are commanding fires. Um, so the fire department that I'm currently on, it's a combination department. We have 2 paid people on 24/7, and then I would respond in my personal vehicle. If it's something like a structure fire, I would respond directly to the scene in my personal vehicle. And I have my fire gear with me, and I keep a clipboard with pens and tactical worksheets and a notepad and all of that stuff. Um, Thanks, Craig. I appreciate you tuning in. Just checking for any more questions before. There's a lot of you putting comments and questions in here. I appreciate that. Um, okay, Peter, I believe it's Burritt, wants to know. Let me show this one here. Is there a survivable space? Are you performing a search for every fire? Absolutely. Anytime you have a fire, you have to assume that somebody is in there. The first question that I typically ask is when I arrive is everybody out of the building? You may or may not get a straight answer on that. So in this particular situation, we were being told that there was a possibility that an elderly male was in the building. So we have to assume he's in the building, and thus we have to search the building. Um, Let me roll you back to the beginning of the video when we arrived, and we'll talk about this just briefly. So, front porch is right there. It's fully involved. Um, Front door is also in that fire and fully involved. So If you go around to the back of the house, it was also well involved with fire. So we're going to have to knock fire down before we get in there. And I got to be honest, this was not a very big house. So, in regards to a searchable space, I don't know that there would be a survivable, searchable space in this fire. But I've definitely commanded fires where a portion of the building was on fire, not searchable, but there was other areas of the building that was on fire and was definitely searchable. All right. Um, does extreme heat or cold change the original call assignment? It does not, Fred. But however, uh, I have the liberty that on a very hot day, um, if I know we have a working fire, I can request an additional 2 or 3 engines. Same thing when we have a very cold day. I have the liberty to request additional companies as needed. Um, right here. Fernando, fire was going out of control because the back room had about 30 tires back there. Um, I don't know why they were in there, but it definitely hampered our ability to extinguish fire. That's for sure. Um, here we go. Greg Gass wants to know what our department uses to keep track of accountability on scene. So, number one is I use a tactical worksheet always, every time we have a fire. But we also use the Velcro passport system. And I don't have a picture of that right now, but if if you're with a fire department, you understand what I'm talking about. That's what we utilize is the Velcro passport system. You pull a tag off the brim of your helmet, you put it on the passport of the truck that you're riding, and then that passport comes to the incident command board uh, after arrival. Tom Gary didn't hear any interior attack crews reporting high heat and heavy smoke without any change to fire knockdown. Um, yeah, I went mobile because the back of the house was ripping pretty good, and I just wasn't seeing um, a good knockdown like what I would normally expect within the first, say, 10 minutes or so, especially when you have multiple lines in there. So um, it's important that you get reports from your officers. In this particular case, I had an acting lieutenant on Rescue One, so I got to cut him a little bit of slack. Uh, he's probably not quite as dialed in as what the sworn officers are, but nonetheless, I'm able to communicate with them and ask them if they want a third line or ask them, have you found the steps to the second floor? Nathan, any plans to film a fire response with the volunteer department? You know, um, I'm not opposed to filming those responses, but they're just few and far between. And the setup would be a little bit different. Um, obviously, if I arrived on scene and could position my vehicle in the right spot, and I was in command of that fire, if that opportunity was there, I would definitely take that chance to get some new video. All right, Steven, how many RIT teams does Newark have per shift? So we do not have a designated RIT team. A RIT team is assigned. So we would just take a company and assign them as RIT, either a Newark company or a mutual aid company. And uh, toward the latter part of my career, I made the habit of having crews on deck. And those on deck crews is what I would utilize for my RIT. And then if there needed a replacement crew on the inside, I would use the on deck crew and send them in and then bump up the other on deck crews to assume the RIT position. Hello, David in Juneau, Alaska. EV fires. I have not been on an EV fire. We've had some training on that, and I'm sure it's bound to happen eventually. We do not have any tillers. We have a platform and 2 sticks. If somebody's looking to join a fire department, my best recommendation is to reach out to the fire academy or to the closest fire department. Try to get in touch with somebody. I can tell you that if you lived in our area, I would recommend that you get on a volunteer department that will help pay for your training, and will also get you some experience while you're going through your training. Kathy wants to know, how do you know where the firefighter should go? So the biggest thing, number one, you got to get water on the fire as quickly as possible, the fastest way possible, and then the next thing would be life safety issues. So you would assign a search crew or multiple search crews to any areas that needed to be searched that was tenable and would possibly have victims. I do not go inside with the attack crews. My job is to be outside. Um, Occasionally, I would pick up an overtime shift and end up on an engine and pray for the opportunity to get back inside of a fire and get dirty. But I would say that that is probably pretty much over with. Um, there is a slight possibility of getting inside with a volunteer department that I'm with. Um, but I mean, let's be honest. I'm 53. I'm not a young buck anymore. So what was the reason for the fire resetting on them? Was there an access problem, or did they pass fire? No, they didn't pass fire. We had fire on the walls. We had fire in the attic space, and we could not get a knockdown of the fire on the back of the house. And I appreciate the comment about Monday morning quarterbacking. Here's what everybody needs to understand. Um, about my YouTube page. I really do not mind people asking questions. What I got a problem with is when people are derogatory or want to insult the crews that I am commanding, because here's the most important thing. I didn't check to see if these guys wanted to be recorded. I didn't ask them if they were okay with it. So the other thing is we're all human. We're going to goof up. So, but no, people are more than welcome to ask questions, and I will do my best to answer questions. It's the rude people that I have trouble with, and I have no problem putting them in their place and then blocking them from the channel. Hello to Peter in Sweden. Um, I think I'm caught up. So, do you believe first due? Let me throw that up there. This is a good question. Do you believe first due should use tank water? We do. Um, we would always stretch a line and utilize tank water when arriving. Typically, the second due would catch the hydrant. However, um, I know that Newark just recently changed it. The second due goes straight in and provides tank water to the first due, and the third engine would catch the hydrant and lay in. So that's the new orders. If you look back at my videos, what you will notice is usually the second arriving would always catch the hydrant. That was per policy. and the first due would stretch a line and utilize tank water for fire attack. All right. So if you have people that are not on social media and you think that they would benefit from this, please point them to Command Vision. I, I have a training blog that I continuously update here. You can click on any of these tags if you're looking for a specific thing like basement fires or a fatality fire or whatever. Um, please send them to my page, commandvision.com. They can read, uh, they can download. I've also got a page that is just full of links for people that are wanting to do some additional training. Additionally, my plan is to, if this is a well-received thing, um, I'm planning to do a breakdown video once a month, and I would also like to do some type of like investigation or line of duty death report because I'm a firm believer that if we can learn what's killing firefighters, we can learn to prevent that. So I am very into NOSH fatality reports and line of duty death investigations. Um, so probably in 2 weeks, I'm hoping to have a new video up where I'm discussing a line of duty death or something of that nature. All right, everybody. I appreciate everybody tuning in. This has been a lot of fun. Uh, please hit the like button if you thought this was cool and you got positive from this. Um, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click on the alerts. That way you will get notifications every time I post a video. And please share this with your friends. My number one goal is to try to pass on information to the best of my ability because eventually I'm going to be totally retired and walking away from this. And I want to try to pass on as much information as I possibly can to help ensure that all of us can be aggressive yet safe. So, everybody take care, and I will see you on the next time.